Our community won't be the same as Hastings' #1 fan, Kenny Augustine, heads out to California. Through the years, it's no exaggeration to say that Kenny Augustine has been a favorite citizen. There's always been something about his great enthusiasm for his community and his optimism that a Hastings team will always come out on top. Kenny has shown an ever-present positive attitude that has drawn young and old to him. Kenny lost his mom, and it's time for him to go live with his brother and sister-in-law in California. A big appreciation party was taking place for Kenny when Channel 14's Susie McNamara arrived at the scene.
Hi, Kenny. How are you?
Hi.
I thought I would come to your party. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay.
Because I think you told me I could come, right?
Yeah, you can go.
Oh, good. Hi, Joy. How are you? Hello. Okay. What? Okay, I got a surprise. Kenny, how are you?
Fine.
Good. Guess what?
What?
You are this week's unsung hero for Hastings Community TV. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Kenny, I think this is the first time that you're speechless on me.
Well, you kind of surprised me a little bit.
Am I surprising you just a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad because we have more surprises for you. Can I give them to you?
I think you're right.
Okay, you get flowers. Aren't they beautiful? From Hastings Gift and Garden, and then you get a goodie bag too. And inside the goodie bag is Culver's, Nummy Nummy, coffee at Dunn Brothers. How about eating at Perkins? Oh, we hit a good one. And then there are sweets for the sweet. So thank you so much, Kenny. Do you want me to put these back in the bag for you? We want to let you know that we love you dearly. You are such a huge part of Hastings itself. And with everything that you do with the sports, and every time I'm out and about, you are at that event. So I don't know how you do it.
I don't know either, but thank you for everything, and I am going to miss you a lot.
I'm going to miss you too. I'm going to miss you too, Kenny.
You won't believe all the great things you're about to hear concerning this week's unsung hero, Kenny Augustine. That will be coming up immediately following our newscast. We've been celebrating the years we've had with the Hastings #1 fan, Kenny Augustine. He has been actively helping many Hastings sports teams, including other organizations such as the Hastings JCs. We asked Student Channel 14 reporter Phil Gapp to delve into the impact that Kenny had on specifically our high school sports scene.
Spring brings changes to our high school. The basketball hoops are folded away, and the Minnesota High School League develops a competitive edge in track and field. Another change is the loss of an old friend.
We're going to talk about Kenny Augustine a little bit. I have known Kenny for ages. I can't even remember when we were over at the old high school. I kind of really remember him. Thoughts about Kenny: smile from ear to ear, big grin, happy-go-lucky guy, positive attitude, something you'd want your kids in track to kind of aspire to as far as an attitude. Great attitude, wonderful kid, great supporter, the #1 fan of all sports in Hastings, I believe. He really followed and kind of was a manager for a couple sports like soccer and basketball, but he would come to me every year and ask me for my girls' track schedule because he'd want to come over there, and then he'd write it down in his little notebook that he'd have, and he'd be very happy about that and thankful, and he would try to come to some of our home meets just to see the girls, and I think all the kids liked him a lot. He said nice things to him, but I'll just always remember him pedaling, and he had an old bike that had a big fat bike seat and big fat tires, one of those old-fashioned style, and a little basket on the front, and he'd always come with his schedule and his notebook there, and he'd just see him pedaling down, coming over to the track and visiting with the kids. So I guess that's kind of what I remember about him, just his good positive attitude.
Kenny Augustine, he was emotional, very dedicated to the games, football, basketball, soccer, etc., and he was really unbelievably good with a football prophet. There was one time, it was pregame for Silhouette the day before. He'd always throw out the predictions for the game. He guessed it was going to be 27-26 in favor of us, and it ended up being 26-28. And it happened like 3-4 times. One time he actually got it right. It was 35-37. against Woodbury. He was just awesome. He's going to be greatly missed.
Kenny and I go back a long ways. He started as my manager back in the early 80s for football, for sophomore boys basketball, and then JV baseball in the spring. Kenny is a wonderful person. He did a lot of great things as the manager. He, helped me when I needed him to. He took on some responsibilities, but I think more than anything, what I'll always remember and be most appreciative to Kenny for is keeping things in perspective for me. Teaching me how important it is to count your blessings, teaching me how important it is to have a positive attitude every day, because there's nobody that I know of who takes those two things to heart like Kenny Augustine. I wish Kenny well as he travels to California for his new adventure. I hope to see him again not too far down the road, and believe me, I will be giving him a call on those days when I need a little bit of a pick-me-up. There's nobody who can make you feel better about how things are going for you than Kenny Augustine. So, Kenny, congratulations. You are the greatest. We're going to miss you.
With a tear shed and a round of applause for Kenny, this is Phil Gapp signing off for Hastings Community Television, Channel 14.
You are all his aunts, correct? But tell me who you are.
I'm Joan Jacobson, and Kenny is my godchild.
Okay. What can you tell me about Kenny? I am just amazed at the amount of things that Kenny is involved in within this town. I'm a Hastonite and everything. Everywhere I go, he is.
Oh, that's right. And there isn't a stranger in town because he knows everybody.
Yes.
And I don't know, he's an inspiration. He's an inspiration to the family, to the community.
Oh, he is, isn't he?
Yep.
Thank you. And you are?
Rita Fassbender.
Okay. Now, Rita, you were telling me that Kenny's mom would be so very proud of him, as she always was.
Yes, right.
And will continue to be, I'm sure, with him getting the unsung hero. What can you tell me about Kenny?
Like Joni put it in words, he is an inspiration to all of us.
Well, see, nobody's digging out any dirt or anything. Kenny, there's like no dirt on you.
I don't know where it would come from.
Kenny's back there going, oh yeah, there too is dirt. Hang on just a second.
There's one thing.
Oh, there's one thing. We got one thing.
Yeah, it's very hard for Kenny to keep a secret. He'd come home with a present for his mom and he'd say, come here, Aunt Joan, come here. And I'd go in there and he'd show me, and he'd say, now don't say anything. And I'd just start laughing. I'd say, I'm not going to say a word. You're the one that has to keep quiet. But he was all excited. He had to give that present right away.
Yes.
And he brought many of them home for his mom.
Well, and Kenny has a very giving heart. I understand. Kenny, sneak in here for just a second. He goes, oh, all righty. Here we are. All right, so I'll come over here this time. How about that? Kenny, I understand that while your mom was in the hospital, you got a bunch of your money together. And what did you do with that money? I thought that you had donated it to a specific cause.
Yeah, I did. I did donate to the Pacific Cross, and I thought that it would be a right thing to do with all the money and everything. I thought that it would be a right thing to do to donate it to the Pacific Cause.
Yes, yes. And I know, too, Kenny, that I had seen you at the high school, and at the time your mom was in the hospital, and you had said that if God decided that it was her time, that you were going to light a bunch of candles at Bridge to a Cure,
yeah.
and you were going to walk for her.
Yeah, I am going to be on August 2nd, and yeah, I will August 3rd, and yeah, I will be back 5 for my mom and 5 for my dad, and I'll be doing that around high school. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. You know, what more can we say? We're going to find out more things from other people, but Kenny, I'm speechless, and I'm not speechless very often.
Well,
They're all laughing.
You do a good job.
And you are?
I'm Lorraine, one of the older aunts.
Oh, I love it. Now, Lorraine, we're finding out just all sorts of wonderful things about Kenny. And what is it like having him for a nephew?
Well, he's, like they said, an inspiration to all of us, and we go along with whatever he wants.
He has some pretty good ideas, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
You know, well, and one of the things, too, is like we were at Picnic and Policy in the park, and that was for people's rights. And every time I had ever met Kenny, if it was anywhere around an election time, whether it be school board or regular election or something, he was always giving a message. He would always go, and just one more thing, get out and vote. You know, so he's very politically active also, isn't he?
Yeah, very much so.
Does that run in the family?
Well,
That's okay, you can all nod your head yes. Of course.
And this brother Bill has been really right by his side all the time.
Brother Bill.
He's done a lot. He's done a lot for Kenny.
Hi, Brother Bill, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good. So what do you think about Kenny getting this unsung hero and everything that he's done and just his life in general in Hastings?
He certainly deserves it. He's been an inspiration not only to the city but to the high school, to a lot of the young kids.
Tell me everything that he has done up at the high school.
Well, he's been assistant basketball coach for the girls, and they never lose a game according to Kenny. Nor do the boys ever lose a game. They're always going to win. He'll bet you.
Seriously?
Absolutely. He's always got a $1 bet we're going to win.
Okay.
Win or lose, he says, I always win. So.
You know, I think that that's one thing, too, to point out is that I have not ever run into Kenny that he has not been optimistic.
Oh, very.
I mean, no matter what is going on.
When-
like you're saying, the games or whatever.
Yep, when Kenny started going to the schools, his dad went up there to make sure Kenny wasn't getting in the way and being a pest. And Louis insisted he go there with a shirt and a tie at all the games. Therefore, it spread over into the boys. They all came with shirts and ties on.
Seriously?
Because of Kenny.
I did not realize that.
That's true.
Oh my gosh, and I've seen him out on the football fields too.
Yeah, with a shirt and tie and a sport coat.
Yes. We do call him Hastings' #1 fan.
Yeah, he really is.
Isn't he?
He's terrific. And he's all set up in California already
Good.
for different schools for coaching and assistant coaches.
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
He's got an uncle that's a great football player out there.
Seriously?
That coaches football all summer. He's going to be his assistant.
Oh my gosh.
So he's leaving us to do a really good job someplace else.
Yes. Well, Paula is telling me that this one's a really hard one. Not the fact that Kenny is the unsung hero. It's the fact that Kenny won't be in this community anymore. So, Paula, you have had some close contact with Kenny over many different things.
Yeah.
What an inspiration. I keep hearing that word, inspiration that he is.
Well, and this week, Kenny's been coming into my students to talk to my students at the middle school, and we were just talking about this yesterday. And I said, you know, I'm going to this party for Kenny tomorrow, so if you guys want to stop by, that'd be great. And I was talking about how I'm going to miss him, and they were saying, yeah, we're going to miss him too. And this one kid piped in. He said, think of the community without Kenny.
Oh yeah.
And that really, because that's just it. I mean, that is so it.
Right.
That the loss is just.
Right.
How are we going to measure that? So,
well, and I think perhaps a measure of it will be is how much more things will continue, even though Kenny is in California, you know, and I'm sure we'll still be able to have contact with him, but I think Kenny has touched so many people's lives, so many organizations' lives, and just Hastings in general, that so much is going to continue because of him.
Yep. And I'm going to miss, because he's the only one that would sing with me with karaoke. So I'm going to really miss that because they won't let me do it alone. And dance, I mean, I'm thinking of the dances and all the different things socially. Because it started out as a work relationship. And then over the years it's just developed to be, it's a really strong friendship that we've developed over the last 10, 15 years since we've known each other. So, yeah, it's really going to be tough. But I'm so happy for him and just the journey and the adventure that he's got ahead of him. He's going to save the world one state at a time is what I was thinking.
Well, he really is. And as you're talking, I'm sitting here going, well, I guess we can't be selfish and keep him here. He's got to move on.
California needs him, I guess.
Yeah, California, here he comes.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Kenny Augustine and I have shared many bus rides over the years, and I've learned a lot of things from Kenny. Probably the most important thing I've learned from him is that the importance of a positive attitude. I don't think there's anybody around that is more positive than Kenny, that he can find the bright side of life no matter what's going on, and that's the thing that I'll appreciate most. And I know that Kenny has a cell phone. I have his number, and when I need a little pick-me-up or a little day brightener, I'm going to give him a call, because there's nobody around that can do a better job of keeping life in perspective and helping you look at things from the bright side than Kenny Augustine.
Hardly anything I could add. I'm Kenny's Uncle Bob, and many years ago we started the Hastings baseball team, the Hawks, and I managed it for about 19 years, and we weren't always successful, but we were when we were done, because Kenny would tell us the next game is ours. And positiveness, like Tom said, and I just feel like he's my nephew, and I've lost a real good friend, but he'll keep in touch with us, and I'm going to miss him a lot, just like a lot of people in town are.
The interesting thing that I think about Kenny, here we are, we're in a town of 18,000 people probably. He's the only person I know in Hastings who you say, I'm going to go see Kenny, or I got to pick up Kenny, or I have to meet Kenny for a cup of coffee. Nobody asks Kenny who. They know that it's Kenny Augustine. He's on the first name basis with many, many people in Hastings, and that's because of all the things that he's done for us and all the things that he's given us over the years. So, Ken, we love you. We're going to miss you. Best of luck, and we look forward to seeing you back again when you come to visit us.
All right, start whenever you're ready.
No, I was just telling, Kenny reminds me of that movie that I'm sure everyone has seen called Radio. Hastings doesn't know how lucky they are, because we have our own radio in the city of Hastings standing right next to me. And as anyone have seen that movie and know Kenny, he's a duplicate.
You're right, you got it.
I got it? Okay. No, that's about all I have to say. It is. He has our own radio.
And I have with me
John Ferris.
Okay. Now, John, what can you add to everything that you've already heard about Kenny, and what are your experiences with Kenny?
Well, actually, I don't think I could add too much to what has already been said about him. Excuse me. I just know that the short time that I've known Kenny, I'll have a lifetime of memories of him. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anybody else could really, deserve it more than Kenny. Because he's been so much behind the scenes and a lot of things for a lot of people. And it's always like, not me, it's, I want to help them,
Right.
And with this, it's like Hastings saying a tribute to Kenny, we love you, we appreciate you, and thanks for everything, And that's why, him being unsung hero, it just makes my day, probably the whole week, actually, so.
We're glad to hear that, John. And it really seems like Kenny is the type of person that believes in, like, paying it forward. We heard his uncle say it's like the movie Radio, but there's another movie out there about paying it forward, where you do good for others, and then it just keeps coming around and coming back to you and moving forward. And now he's moving all the way to California to pay it forward there.
Yeah, I believe that's what God has in mind. He'll probably want the people out in California to learn how really the people in Minnesota have a heart. Mm-hmm. And we couldn't send a better ambassador.
No, we couldn't. I really do believe that Kenny is the heart and soul of Hastings.
Exactly. And I don't know, I'm just like everyone else, I'm speechless, that he is such a great person. And how can you, by me saying words about it, is like making it smaller, but it's just so great. He's just awesome.
I think you said it right there, John.
He's awesome.
Way to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am standing here with some of Kenny's friends that have been at different functions that I've been at, too. You guys kind of get around, too, don't you?
Yeah.
Yes. So, Joy, what do you think about Kenny? She is speechless. See, another one is speechless. And then I have with me
Melissa Langenfeld.
Okay.
Or, as Kenny knows me as Missy. I've known Kenny for 2 years. We gone to bingo with each other, outings with Joanne Bolenbeck, and we've been on the same bowling league with each other, and will be a good friend to me.
Excellent. Excellent. What is the one thing that Kenny has taught you, Missy?
He's taught me to show other people how you can give good to them, do other things for them.
Sure. Excellent. Excellent.
Hi, my name is Bob Majeski. I'm assistant principal here at Hastings High School, but also past football coach in Hastings for the past 20-something years. And I just wanted to share a couple little thoughts about Kenny Augustine, who's leaving our community. First of all, some facts. Years ago, when Bobby Short was a softball coach here at Hastings, Kenny was part of a fundraiser for the girls' softball team, and we had a little bowling party at that time out at south of town. Anyway, Kenny did beat me in that game, so that's a fact. Otherwise, I never really denied it, but never really gave him the proper credit. But Kenny did beat me once, and I always say, just talk to Kenny. He'll tell you the truth, I guess. And so, Kenny, yes, you did beat me. The second thing, over the 20-some years that I've been here at Hastings with varsity football, Kenny was the #1 fan for a lot of sports in Hastings, but football included. He'd come out to our practices on Thursdays before a Friday night game more often than not and try to say a few words of encouragement to our team. And he took it quite seriously. And Kenny is a motivator. And it was kind of unique when we move up here to the high school, because we're quite a distance from the high school for Ken. And he'd be huffing and puffing and out of wind sometimes and trying to get up there while we're stretching out. And obviously the kids at that time were slowing their stretches down to make time for Kenny, because it's something they look forward to too. But Kenny would always say there was consequences for not winning and not trying your best, and that would be one Raider maker. And the kids took that pretty serious many times, Kenny, so you really inspired our team to do well, as they could possibly do many times, so we appreciate for that. And also the thing that I got a kick out of the most, when Kenny was done with his speech, he would yell for the manager to come and give him a ride back to the school so he wouldn't have to walk so far. So that was always some things, Kenny, that I'll remember, and we kind of go on from there. And whether a lot of people knew or not, when our season was done, Kenny would be one of the first people in the office to congratulate us and looking for a schedule for next year. If without that schedule, he wasn't ready. And many times he'd come in, you got my schedule, you got my schedule, and I was very proud to give him next year's schedule so he could put it on his plan. So those are just a few things that meant a lot to me for Ken, and whoever lands Ken as a manager in California is going to be a lucky person. So good luck to Ken and his family, and a lot of great memories for Hastings.
Hello, my name is Tim Collins, and I'm the superintendent of the Hastings School District. And I just want to tell you just a little bit about Kenny Augustine. If you've never met him, just what a wonderful person, what a great person. And I'm saying that not only on a personal basis, but just the impact that he had on our school system, that he had on our community, and that he had on so many student athletes as he passed through our doors. Kenny was one of those individuals that if you were having a bad day, if you were having a down day, and you just heard his voice coming down the hallway, you just knew that you were going to be laughing within 1 minute, or that you were going to be smiling, because he just had that unbelievable ability that no matter who he met, you fell in love with him, and you just had to laugh with him, because he treated every day as a special day. And I hate to talk to him about him in past tense, because he's still somewhere. He's not here at Hastings, but he's going to be in some California school system, some California city, and he's going to be bringing sunshine to them. And I'm just so jealous that those people get to have that type of relationship, and we're going to really miss it. And Kenny, I know that you're probably going to be watching this at some point in time, and every time that you met me, you always told me, Mr. Collins, we are going to go all the way. Well, thank you for bringing us all the way to the top of a human being who showed sincerity, caring attitude for everybody that he met in life. We're going to miss you, we love you, and we wish you the very best. Thank you for taking time out of your life to touch our lives. You're going to go all the way, Kenny.